Hey guys, and thanks for joining the Intuition Revolution. I'm your host, Kim Chestney, and I can't wait to introduce you to our guest today, Brett Larkin, who I just love to death. She is one of the most authentic, bright lights in the holistic community, and I am so happy to have her here today to talk with us about yoga and intuition. Brett is the founder of Uplifted Yoga and has taught at super cool companies like Google and Pinterest. And get this, she leads the world's most interactive online yoga teacher training program. Her content on YouTube is streamed for 2 million minutes each month. So, wow, the world loves you as much as I do, Brett, clearly. So I have had the pleasure of first working with her a couple years ago on the Sivana East podcast, and we had a really fun conversation about intuition and technology and life, and I'm so excited to keep it going today. So welcome, Brett.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Like, this is just so much fun. I just feel so aligned with your work and your energy, and I know we're going to have a really good conversation today. I mean, you do these really transformational online yoga classes, and one of my favorites, of course, is connecting with intuition. We feature it in our Intuition Lab Masterclass, so that's how much I love it. So connecting the body and intuition is so important, right? And I think that's one of the things that a lot of people don't get, that in order for our intuition to flow, our body's got to be attuned and clear, and all that energy has to be flowing. So I was wondering if maybe we could kick things off by maybe you could tell us a little bit about your work and then how intuition really informs it or plays a part in it.
Well, when I think about intuition, I always think about the chakra system, which is a big love of mine. And the chakras are such an incredible lens. And for those of friends who don't know what they are, it's completely fine. What these are energy centers that run from the base of our spine all the way up to the crown of the head. There's hundreds of chakras, but there's 7 main primary ones that we work with in yoga. And you can think of these energy centers kind of like an operating system. So the computer that or phone that you're watching this on right now probably has an operating system. And every once in a while, Apple or whoever you use asks you to upgrade that system. And what's happened to us as we've grown and developed is that these operating systems are kind of set. So for example, in the first chakra, Muladhara, the operating system there is that of our sense of safety, security, kind of like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's our base, that our base needs are met. And then moving up from there, right, second chakra is more focused on our emotions and our desires and our wants and needs. Third chakra more about our willpower. So it's all these like little mini programs, I think of it as moving up our spine. And like what you said about the body, the chakras are so cool because we can access them in meditation through an energy work practice, but we can also actually access them through physical asana. So sometimes we might not know exactly why we feel off, but we can use the chakras as a kind of diagnostic tool and then actually try to solve whatever we're going through, not just through talking about it or not just through trying to do energy work, but actually through moving our bodies as well. Kim, what I found with so many people when it comes to intuition is that what's missing is a strong foundation. So kind of like a tree has really big roots. The deeper the roots of the tree, the bigger the canopy of that tree is going to be. So in the chakra system, intuition's associated with Agnya chakra. That's our 6th chakra. That's our third eye center, where you often see women wearing the bindi in Hindu culture. So this is where it's said that our intuition around the pineal pituitary gland energetically lives in our body, according to the chakra system. But kind of like the tree, we can't just focus in this area and expect our intuition to be effective if we don't have a strong foundation, meaning that the lower chakras are really building a support structure for us in order to access the higher energy centers. So we have the lower chakras and the higher chakras, and we really need both to be strong and in balance in order to have a strong, clear sense of, be perceptive about where we want to go and what we want to manifest and do.
I just have to say that like all these little lights are going off, like, yes, yes, yes. And this, I'm so glad you brought this up, because as intuitives, we often think, oh, we just get so stuck in our heads, right? So we're just always up here, like trying to, to intuit and be in this creative space, but then we forget that we have to ground, right? And it's all part
Yes.
of that yin and that yang, right?
Yeah, so the chakras, you can think of them as these spinning energy centers. And what's actually making them spin, in a sense, within us is that there's two main currents in the body: the current of liberation, which is energy moving up, and the current of manifestation, which is energy moving down. What I see with a lot of yoga teachers and healers and intuitives is that they have that current of manifestation quite strong. So, for example, you might be able to meditate and right away feel kind of like spacey and like really connected. I mean, that's definitely me. But what I've realized in my practice is that we actually want both of those currents to be working in tandem so that we can intuit and connect, but then we can also actually put our ideas into practice and manifest, right? So it's one thing to have an idea. It's another thing to actually be able to verbalize it, take it down to the level of the throat, speak it to someone else, take it down into the level of the heart, maybe find collaborators, ask people to come on this interview with me,
Mhm.
right? And then take it all the way down through the chakras till it's actually maybe something like a book, like a physical book that you wrote, Kim. So I think we can't overlook, how much we really need to balance both in order to be effective in the world and be change makers.
Yeah, we're definitely like tapping into like the same sort of thing, because I'm actually writing about a lot of stuff like this right now, working on the book. So, and I really love this interplay that you just talked about the liberation and the manifestation. And it's so true, because it really is this process of like lifting up and also bringing down and expression
Mhm.
and expressing this stuff. So it's almost like I talk about it in terms of like, awakening, but and also actualizing, right? So we have to make this real. We have all this intuition and this sort of wisdom and this awareness that we wake up to, but then it's sort of our job to bring it into reality, to improve the world and make the world better and to share that and uplift others, right? So that's sort of the goal.
Right. And also to be able to discern, what is intuition and what's not. So if it's interesting for your folks to learn a little bit more about the chakra system, right? A chakra can be in one of three main energetic states. It can be in a state of balance, homeostasis. That's the ideal. It can be in a state of excess, meaning that there's too much energy collected in that area, kind of like an overflow, or I think of like a pond that's overflowing, right? Or it can be in a state of deficiency. And there I think of like the pond with no water in it, right? So we want homeostasis, that beautiful balance. Each chakra can be in one of these three states. So when you have Agnya, sixth chakra, in a state of excess, well, what that kind of looks like is like you have way too many ideas and your intuition's telling you like a bajillion different things, but you don't know which ones real, if that makes sense, or what to listen to. So it's kind of like this scatterbrained, all over the place type of feeling. If sixth chakra is in deficiency, I mean, we're not even like seeing our options. Like we're so stuck in probably survival and like fight or flight that we're not even open to the idea that there's maybe something greater than ourselves, that there's a higher self to connect with. So finding balance in this energy center, and everyone's like, well, great, how do I find balance? We have to work with the chakras holistically, meaning I can't just balance my sixth chakra. I need to work with that foundation, like I talked about with the roots of the tree. So a lot of us who are very intuitive, it might not come as naturally for us, or I know it doesn't come as naturally for me to create a lot of boundaries and structure in my life, which is actually that root chakra energy, the first chakra that I really need to be successful. Having a morning routine, having Mondays and Wednesdays look the same and Tuesdays and Thursdays look the same. It sounds silly, reminding myself to eat meals, right? Like when
Right.
you are highly like connected and intuitive, like it sounds ridiculous, but like these are things
Oh,
that
it's
we
true.
often forget.
So true.
So building that foundation for myself, then all of a sudden I still have this connection, but I'm very discerning because I have this stability. So I'm able to be like, yep, that idea I want to listen to. This is more just like noise. When you have like static on a radio, it's just like, all of a sudden you can fine tune the dials and really get, I think, a lot more interesting information
Yeah,
that's
that is
actionable.
no, that is so true. And so in terms of balancing all this stuff, like, do you have sort of practices? Are there certain like yoga sequences or beyond like meditation stuff that helps to align these energies? Like, what is the sort of main pathway for that?
So all yoga asana is kind of helping move energy through the spinal column. So all yoga is going to be good yoga for your chakras, like
Can't go
anything you
wrong.
decide to do, it's all good. That being said, there are different yoga postures and asana like invoke more energy in different chakras. So
Mm,
for example, if I really want to focus on my first chakra, getting grounded and rooted, yoga poses where my body has a lot of contact with the floor, like shavasana
mhm,
or um, pigeon pose,
mhm.
or a yin style type of practice where I'm doing a lot of folding forward, would
Right.
be really nice choices to complement that energy. If I really want to get energy up in my sixth chakra, I like inverting. You don't have to do headstand to invert. I mean, even just downward facing dog with your head on a block, or child's pose with your head on a block. These are postures that, again, are kind of drawing energy into this area. So each of the yoga postures, we can kind of start to dissect them. And this is a lot of what I do in my teacher trainings, and figure out, how can we intelligently sequence or put together a class that's ushering the energy in a direction that we want to go. And this is where you can start really personalizing your yoga practice at home. Once you understand this, you notice, oh, I just traveled last week, so I feel really scattered. Maybe today is not the best day for like a twisty detox practice. I need to focus on rooting and grounding. So I'm going to turn to yin, or I'm going to turn to some yoga nidra, or something that's very going to be soothing for my nervous system and get me in contact with the ground. Or, oh, I feel really stable right now and I have a creative project coming up. Let's kind of bring some energy up and really focus on sending energy to the brain through some breath of fire, through
Right.
some inversions, right? And so this is where our yoga practice really begins to complement our daily life.
I love that. And it really is just about drawing the energy to the places that you need it and rebalancing that energy, right?
Mhm.
And once you
Yes.
get into that balanced state, and then, that's when I start talking about intuition, like, then that's when this stuff starts to flow, because you're not like distracted by the pain or the stress or the mind that's going a million miles a minute, because you're like calm, and you're in this like homeostasis, and it's in that like stillness and that peace that your intuition can finally speak clearly, right?
Yes. And I think a lot of people expect like their intuition to talk to them a like a person.
Yeah, right.
I've, I've
No, it's
definitely,
so true.
yes. And I've definitely found that has not been the case for me.
Yeah.
One of my favorite mentors, Anodea Judith, talks about intuition being like the match in a dark room. So you strike a match and it gives like a spark for a moment in a dark room. It maybe shows you where the door is or where the light
Right.
switch is, but
Mhm.
it's not in and of itself the answer. So I think when I really let go of like thinking that my intuition needed to like speak to me
Right.
like my father or something and tell me concrete things to do, and it was more like, oh, and in order to feel that or listen to that, we do need to be balanced, and we do need to be calm, and we do need to create space for it. I mean, there needs to be an emptying. In the Kundalini world, they call this shunya, like a place of you emptying yourself out so that higher consciousness, your intuition, divinity, whatever you want to call it, can come in. It's literally like creating a
Mm,
vacuum within
I love
yourself
that.
so that something else can come in. And,
I love that.
those are not the skills that we're developing and as a society right
Ugh,
now. Right now,
tell me
everything's
about it.
about do more all the
Oh, tell me
time.
about
And so, your yoga practice, your yoga and meditation practice, I think attuned with just knowing the basics about the chakras. And I have a free challenge about that for people who are interested. It just kind of helps you get to know each chakra through a yoga class and a
it.
meditation.
Very cool.
But you need to create that space. You need to create a little bit of a vacuum, like I was
Right.
talking about, in order for something to come in.
Right. You want that intuition to come in, you've got to give it a place to go. It's
Yes,
not going to be able to
exactly.
come if you've got all these like thoughts and obsessive compulsive feelings, all that stuff. The intuition's just kind of like, hey, listen, I'm here. So I love that analogy, because
Mhm.
it really applies, to just to fill yourself. Because one of the things I love in your video that you said, where you were talking about how intuition isn't, it's not something that we have to like go out and get and learn, right? And I always talk about this in Radical Intuition. It's not something we learn. It's something that's innate within us. We just have to open up so we can receive it, right? And that's part of that emptying it. We got to empty this out so we can just receive that and let it come alive, really. I
Yeah,
like
it's
the
like a
idea of
part of us that's forgotten. That's how I
right.
always think of it. It's like, it's not like something outside that we need to achieve. It's something that's so ingrained that it's just been sort of like covered and caked over with a
Yes.
million other programs that we almost just need to unlearn to be able to, go back to that simplicity. And, I have found that a yoga practice to be essential. I mean, there's just so much benefit to moving your body. It releases excess energy, linking breath and movement, slows down your mind. You start shifting into parasympathetic nervous system. And then, really when we look back at yoga in the big picture context, yoga, the asana, this alphabet of poses was really only given to us to help us and aid us in sitting for meditation, right? So it's kind of like getting all the kinks out so that then we can just sit and be. The yogis really understood that it's unrealistic for a human, even, the centuries ago when they were practicing, to be able to just sit. The mind is too busy. The body is too frantic. We have too much nervous energy. So the yoga asana, just think of this as, the way for you to iron out your physical and energetic
I
system
love
so that
that.
then you can sit and start creating that vacuum and set an intention. I think that is really like kind of so simple it's stupid, but like an overlooked step. If you at the beginning of your yoga practice or meditation just set the simple intention that you want to be guided, that you want to connect with your highest self or angels or whatever it is that
Right.
you're kind of looking for. I talk about this in my Lakshmi Abundance series, but it's like Lakshmi doesn't show up unless you invite her, right? Like your friend doesn't come over to your house unless you call her and are like, hey, will you come over? Right? So it's the same with like, whether it's your intuition or you're working with, goddesses or whatever, like in that series, we do an invocation, right? So you don't have to chant and you don't have to do anything fancy, but even just setting the intention that this is something you're open to, that you're looking for, it's really going to shift the dynamics of your practice.
I love that. And that ties into my next question before we wrap things up. I want to talk to you about, you named your yoga community Uplifted. And I love that, right? And it really just punctuates the importance of this process of like of rising and evolving into this higher state of being, which is really like, what's really happening here. We want to uplift ourselves and live from that uplifted space more often and consistently in our life, right? And all of that place is the playground of intuition. That's the place where that high vibrational, high vibe place that's where your intuition comes alive and flourishes. So I'm really curious. I'd love to have a little conversation with you about this sort of end game of our conscious evolution and how we wrap that into everyday life. Like, how do we live this sort of enlightened life as regular people in this crazy world with technology and, all of the mayhem that we have to deal with every day?
Well, I think we all really have to become teachers, first for ourselves and then for our families and everyone around us. I think a lot of people are like, well, I'm not a yoga teacher, but to me, a yoga teacher is really anyone who's committed to uplifting people around them in a very subtle way. So not like, hey, go do yoga,
Right.
but, leading by example. And one thing you were talking about, it really reminded me that when we move up the chakra system too, or just practice self-care and uplift ourselves, right? Like there's new information available at every frequency of energy. So the more I uplift myself, I'm actually opening myself up, kind of like radio stations, right? I'm opening myself up to new information. And that information helps me make even better choices, right? So it's this really self-fulfilling prophecy. I think, accepting that you are a teacher and a healer, whether you're ready to take that on or not, because I wasn't ready for many years and I'm like, oh, I wasted so much time just in my
I
head,
know.
right?
Same.
Like I think, the whole, like there's a reason you're writing this book and there's a reason yoga is so popular right now. Like it's not by accident. It's really to counterbalance,
Yes.
this technology age that we're we're in right now. And, Yogi Bhajan predicted all of this. He said, I need to train teachers for this new age, the stressors that humans are going to experience, the viruses, the technology, the stress is going to be more than ever before. So I need to train a team of people who are going to be the front runners. And that's really how I see people like you and me, Kim, and the people in my community and the people in your community. It's like, we're just the first 5 to 10% of people who are waking up.
Yes.
And what's going to happen is everyone else is behind us. And that means that we're the mentors to all of them,
right?
Even in a very subtle way. I mean, one of the most powerful things you can do is teach someone else without overtly teaching them, really subtly, whether it's leading by example or closing your mouth or whatever. That's what we need in the world. So, that's why I love my teacher trainings. That's why I think, even if you don't think of yourself as a teacher in the traditional sense, or even if you're not into yoga postures, it's like, if you're interested in this conversation, we need you to step up and start leading and helping and taking yourself to that highest evolution so that you can help, the 90% of people who are behind us. Because this is a shift that we're in right now, this period. It's just going to get bigger and bigger. We're like the early adopters.
Yeah, I use that phrase all the time too. I'm like, this whole radical intuition, this whole book, half the people are going to be like, what? The other people are going to be like, yes, like early adopters. You get it. Yeah. Everyone else will get it eventually.
Yes.
But I love that. I have one more question for you on that topic. Talking about this process of getting in touch with our higher self. Do you have any advice for everybody watching before we head out for anything that they can do right now to start using yoga or meditation to start getting in touch with their higher self?
I would really encourage them to try a practice. I have so many free ones on YouTube. And then I actually just, at the time we're recording this anyway, I just last week recorded a meditation for your higher self. It's literally called that. I was shocked. I didn't think it would be that popular. And it's been the most popular video of the past couple months that I've uploaded. And that was really exciting to me too, because that means that this shift that we're talking about, if people are suddenly clicking and interested in this, that's happening. And that's a free 20-minute meditation on YouTube. So anyone literally can do that, sitting up or lying down. So that I can give you the link, and that would just be a great, easy, free thing people can do right away.
Excellent. Yeah, I highly recommend that. I checked it out. It's awesome. And the connecting with your intuition. And you also have a set on the 6th chakra that folks can check out too. And they're all free. There's so much. You put out so much wonderful content, and you don't charge people for it. And you give from your heart. And that's one of the things I love about you. So I just want to thank you from all of us for doing that and sharing your light with us. It's been such a pleasure talking with you today. And you guys can learn all about Brett's work on her website, brettlarkin.com, and watch all the other videos on her YouTube channel at Brett Larkin Yoga, right?
Perfect. Thanks, Kim. I'm excited about the book.
Oh, I can't wait. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste.
Bye.